Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the patrons. Make sure to subscribe and let's get into it. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about other missiles, not the R-73, but with the R-73 being confirmed that it's coming to War Thunder, it makes you wonder, will we see better missiles being added shortly afterwards or something like that? So let's take a look first on how the R-73 is being added, and let's discuss it a little bit on what are the most probable things that will happen with these newer missiles if they are ever added. Or, I mean, when they are added, because they will be added, right? So first things first, you have to consider that the R-73 is being added to CAS aircraft that will most likely be a very high tier. You know, an 11.3, 11.7 kind of situation, comparable to the Su-25T and Su-39 that both suffer, I must say, a lot in the air realistic kind of situations, right? So it makes you wonder that if this type of thing is used as a balancing factor for these type of aircraft, for initially CAS aircraft and or in general aircraft that are a little bit less effective in the battlefield in higher tiers. And of course this happens a little bit due to BR compression. It happens a little bit due to the sheer fact of how the battles work, you know. Air realistic or air battles in general, they tend to have a problem that CAS aircraft, bombers, stuff like that, they don't have much of a room to actually stay hidden from the fighters and actually do well in the battle on their own objectives, right? And this especially happens when you have a high tier aircraft such as the Su-25T, for example, as an 11.3 aircraft that is facing a lot of F-14s, MiG-29s, F-16s aircraft that are way superior in performance and missiles and everything to kill other you know, air targets. And obviously the Su-25, for example, in this example, is amazing in ground destroying, just ground attacking the tanks and stuff. But in general, it is pretty bad at fighting air targets, right? And it's something that it's just not possible to actually correct, you know? So I think it's just a matter of balancing a little bit of the of these aircraft that are not the greatest thing ever in the air battle. So with that in mind, with this addition of the BM receiving the R-73, the Su-25 BM of the event, and possibly in the soonish future the Su-25T and Su-39 receiving it, because they said that they are considering it as well, right? You can actually get something out of this in a general sense for other aircraft as well. You can take it, as I said in previous videos, that for example the MiG-29 is not going to get an R-73 for now, the AK-141, the MLD, they're not going to get now something like the R-73, but in the future they probably will, right? And you can, you know, use that in other instances as well. For example, the F-16s. I don't think the F-16s need at the moment a new AIM-9. He already has one of the best missiles in the game. The Israeli ones even have the Python 3, which arguably could be the best missile in the game, right? So all the fighters, you know, as I said, the MiG-29s, the F-14s, the F-16s, aircraft like that, I really doubt that we will see it in a soonish future. And it's kind of already, you know, confirmed that they will not receive it, as I said. But what about the other aircraft that could receive, for example, an AIM-9M? Or an AIM-3 in the case of Japan, or other missiles. So let's talk a little bit about that. In the US, let's start with the US. I don't see much of an improvement over here being added, because that's the thing. We need aircraft that have a very high BR together with not being very good in the sense of defending themselves. So you can take a look, for example, on the F4J. It's a high BR, 11.3, basically the same as the other ones, but it can defend itself way better than an Su-25. It has speed, it has the radar missiles, everything like that. Although I feel like the AIM-9H is a little bit too little for an aircraft that is 11.3, but still, I think it can defend itself. The A-10, for example, has the contrary problem, right? It cannot defend itself against a MiG-29 or something like that properly, but The thing is that it is a 10.3 aircraft, so it never faces those things. So it doesn't need an AIM-9M because what it faces, the AIM-9L already is OP enough, right? So that's where the balance should be, you know, coming from. So some examples that I can talk about is, for example, the Tornado's IDSs. All of them are very high BR. They are, I mean, the Marine Flieger is 11.0, but the normal ones are 11.3. And, I mean, can they defend themselves? Yes. I think so. At least in 11.3 is pretty alright with the 9Ls. But, I mean, a better missile that it's not that different from the L would be okay to be added. So the AIM-9M might be added to something like this if the stats doesn't correspond with the performance that the aircraft should be having, right? Especially when the AIM-9L and the M, initially the M, you know, they have such a small difference between them in the sense of performance itself, so it would make sense that the Tornado IDS would receive it. Maybe not now, but in soonish future. You can talk about the Harrier GR7 receiving an AIM-9M as well, you know, or something like that. I mean, the GR7 is an aircraft that can suffer sometimes if the pilot doesn't know what she's doing. And mostly, the BR of it is due to the air-to-ground capabilities of it. Although it can dogfight very well and can beat most aircraft in a dogfight, it still doesn't have a radar, doesn't have BVR, it doesn't have properly good speed. So it lacks in many aspects that other 11.7, 11.3 even aircraft, you know, are better. So there's another, another aircraft that can receive an AIM-9M. The Tornado F3 as well. I mean, it wouldn't change too much of the aircraft, but a new missile for it would make it a little bit more competitive. Maybe that's a good idea. The Japanese F4 EJ Kai, for example. The EJ Kai is an aircraft that has a very high BR, and although the AIM-9L is already present on that aircraft, the AM-3, for example, would be an interesting addition. It would be a different missile for such an aircraft, and I'm pretty sure that they used it in it. And, I mean, the AM-3 to the AIM-9L, it shouldn't be that big of a difference, just like the AIM-9M isn't compared to the AIM-9L, right? Other ones, I mean, it's difficult to say. You know, the Italians, they have as well the Tornado ADV and the IDS that could receive it. The French has whole nother problem with it, that it's just the Magic 2 performance, you know. It's a performance of a missile that it's not really realistic, maybe, according to some sources, but because it should be at least a little bit better, turning at least like 40 Gs or something like that, and having a better IRCCM as well, which, I mean, could be added, you know, but the problem is that every aircraft at 11.3 upwards on the French Tech 3 use the Magic 2, so they cannot actually add, for example, a better Magic 2 for the Mirage F1C and a worse one for the Mirage 2000. So if they buff all the Mirages, the Magics, every Magic will be better, right? The Swedish don't have much to be added unless they add the Gripen or something like that. So for now, nothing. And of course, the Israelis as well, they already have the Python 3. So you can see that right now, we don't have a lot of aircraft that could receive a missile such as this, an aircraft that is such out of place in the BR, in RRB, that it needs such a good missile like the R-73 to actually stay a little bit competitive, at least, or be able to defend itself. So it's kind of hard. So the verdict over here is just, in my opinion, don't expect AIM-9Ms in the soonish future. Don't expect AM-3s. Don't expect even, as I said on yesterday's video, R-73s for other aircraft. To be honest, I think the only one that will receive it for now is the Su-25. And a lot of people think that AIM-9M is coming just because the R-73 is. But even the A-10, as I said, man, do you really want to see an AIM-9M on a 10.3 aircraft? Or do you want to see a slightly better AIM-9 on an A-10 with a 1.0 increase on its BR? Doesn't feel like a very good option, right? Unless they add the A-10C, for example. Then it would be a fairly good option because it would have pods and other systems, better missiles, everything. Then yes, of course, it will be probably an 11.3 or something. And then, of course, add the AIM-9M to it. But right now we don't have the A-10C. So it's problematic, you understand? So I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments what are your opinions on it. Do you think the AIM-9M and other missiles are coming in the soonish future? I'm not saying during the event, but maybe in the next major update that it's probably coming next month. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. See you.